All right, Ryan. So this tonight comes the game recap against DePaul. A little bit late, but better than never. Ryan, this victory will leave you smiling. This was one of the most complete games that we have seen all year. All year. I know we cannot wait to see what Ryan says, but hey, I had to start this one out. Unofficially, welcome Jaina Al-Alfi. Jaina Al-Alfi, Ryan, finally. It was only 2 months ago. I'm looking at the video now, only 2 months ago that we went on and we had mentioned about Jaina Al-Alfi recruiting, joins the 23 recruiting class only 2 months ago. And now she has unofficially joined this roster, this school, although we will not see her this season. It was announced. So I just wanted to welcome her, man. I'll get into it right away, Ryan. The unofficial stats that I have and the notes that I had taken. Shout out to the radio crew, man, because they did an incredible job tonight. I had 18 turnovers for the Huskies. So you're right. Turnover issues can be fixed. And I believe that Gino, obviously he knows that by now. It's something that can be worked on down the stretch. There was actually the announcers, radio announcers made a good point. Such a large lead there going into the third and fourth quarters. UConn could slow the pace down, and guess what? They can relax. They could relax during this game because why, Ryan? Take a look at the schedule and the teams coming up, and then you'll notice why I mentioned that. All right. And then I also had that I wanted to mention to you, keep your eyes on again, it was 94-51, the final against DePaul. Keep your eyes on the free throwing for UConn. DePaul came in like 68% on their free throw attempts, but keep your eye on it, especially around this time of the year, Ryan, free throws from UConn, because in close ball games, it could come down to a couple shots, man. So keep your eye on that. UConn's been doing better behind the free throw line. It was a good game from Ayanna Patterson. She was in since early January, I think. And then Edwards, oh man, you could take over from here because Edwards, talk about, I had on here my notepad. Edwards could probably, arguably right now, be the best player in the country. Whoever saw that coming, man? It's just nonstop with these Huskies. I'm telling you.
Well, I mean, we certainly love to see it out of AAliyah Edwards. I know everybody does. She had an amazing freshman year, struggled last year, and now she's back. And I would completely agree with you. And I'm sure a lot of people watching this right now agree with you too. Yeah, turnovers. I have 20 on the official box score, so I want to make sure we get that one right. We try to make sure we get everything right here. I have 20 turnovers for UConn on the night, but yeah, Ayanna Patterson. I like that you mentioned her. I thought she had a great game back, like you mentioned. She was out since January 15th, so 8 healthy players tonight for UConn. Lou was hot. She was another player that had a really good game. I think 3 of 3 from downtown to start the game. Aaliyah had an amazing, all 4 quarters, but she dominated in that first quarter. UConn defense did a lot in that first quarter as well. 14 points off of 9 DePaul turnovers, and things got a little chippy. I saw things got a little chippy there in the second quarter between Lou and Anissa Morrow. I think CD had to hold Gino back there, but nothing really explicit happened. But turnovers, that was something bad that happened in that second quarter for UConn. Struggled a little bit taking care of the ball, but the defense was still outstanding. They went on an 8-0 run. DePaul only made 1 of 13 shots to end the second, and UConn had a huge lead, 45-28 at the half. And UConn just continued their hot streak coming out of the half, another 8-0 run. Dorka had a big block, another amazing game out of her, and Aaliyah reached 20 points as well. DePaul was held scoreless for over 5 minutes during that stretch as well. Fourth quarter, Lou joined Aaliyah in the 20-point club. Aaliyah got her 9th double-double of the season.
You want to know something about Lou, too? Let me stop you right there. 20 points, right? You want to bring up Lou Lopez Senechal? Ryan, the 7th time this season, Lou Lopez Senechal has had at least 20. All right?
Yeah. And we really can't talk about her enough either. She's just been, like we keep saying, an amazing add to this team. Aubrey Griffin also her 4th double-double. Nika another double-digit assist game, her 8th of the season. DePaul, I mean, they drop another one here, and UConn wins. Pretty dominating performance, like you said, all around team game. Everybody contributed tonight. 94-51 UConn.
Yeah, and you want to bring up Lou Lopez. I listened, shout out to the radio on this one. They had her in the interview post game, Ryan. I'm sure you're not aware of that. You was not able to watch the whole game, but Lou Lopez Senechal goes, the aggressiveness is what she likes, and that's what helps her. And she pointed out the aggressiveness it's possible to get better when you play more aggressive teams around this time of the year. And we just talked about that the other day with I'm going to say the word, I'm sorry, March. With March approaching, she said it's good to play aggressive teams around this time of the year and then adjusting to passes depending on how the opposing defense is playing. So in other words, it's I mean, that's what all sports are, isn't it? Especially basketball, a game of adjustments. And I mean, that's big because when you think about it, if an opposing defense takes UConn out of their passing game, something that they take pride on so much, passing the ball around to one another. Now, mind you, I wanted to keep your eye on the 3-point shots. UConn was held scoreless from behind the 3-point arc in the first half. So again, that backs up to what I said in the last episode. This team, man, I think they're going to punch it down your throat inside the paint if UConn makes a deep run at it and a Final Four appearance.
Yeah, and like I was saying with Lou and AAliyah, amazing games out of there. And I did listen to a little bit of the post-game interview, and like Gino said, it seems like Lou and AAliyah haven't had a bad game since the start of the season. So yeah, those two players of the game tonight, in my opinion, just outstanding performance. Aubrey, Dorka, and Nika, yet again, great games for them. And I think UConn really just tonight, you talk about the passing, driving inside, offense looked good, and the defense, another defensive clinic as well, holding DePaul to 26% shooting, forcing 17 turnovers. UConn had 20 themselves. Nika had 6. You would like to see Nika take better care of the ball. I've been talking about her a lot. She needs to take better care of the ball. So hopefully she can fix that a little bit. But another thing I want to bring up real quick is UConn's bench. I thought Ayanna, Ines, Amari, they played solid basketball tonight. They don't have to do much when they come into the game. But I thought they did very good tonight with the minutes that they got.
And then Amari DeBerry. I mean, again, this is enough to bring a smile on anybody's face. Even if you don't like UConn, let's take it that far because we've been waiting so long for a game like this, right? This season. And it finally came a total team effort. And that's not with even all the players totally healthy. So can you imagine what damage could be done? Now, mind you, 2 key players, I think one was a season-ending injury that I heard, and then another one left for personal reasons on this ball club for DePaul. So they're missing 2 big names right there. So, but trust me, even if they had them 2 players in, UConn would have still demolished them tonight because it's UConn. All right. And you got to understand, man, when I tell you about going back to what was I saying about Amari DeBerry, but then also how she finally had more playing time, especially in the second half. And I really like that out of Gino, man. Maybe they're finally starting to hear us, huh? Not us, maybe our subscribers.
Yeah, and I've noticed that too the past couple games that Amari's been getting more playing time. I think it was due to them only have 7 players, obviously, but they got Ayanna back tonight, and Amari still was able to make an impact. So I know a lot of us are glad to see Amari finally getting some minutes, and she's playing well with the minutes that she's getting. So hopefully she can continue that because I think she's a player that they can. I don't know if they can rely on her quite yet, but I think it's a possibility that she can get big minutes going towards the end of the season here.
Now I got to whisper this to you. Can you imagine if Paige Beckers and AZ Flo was on the floor? Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Whoa. We're talking
Caroline Ducharme too.
Now you see my point, man. You see how they're playing now. Why do you think I have them winning it all next year? Now, don't beat me up for I'm not giving up yet, but why do you think I'm going all out on 23 and 24? I think you could start to see it picking up now, Ryan, where I'm going with them predictions. I know it's still far down the road, but Ryan, I also wanted to get to Patterson. She was 19 for 26 overall this season on her free throw attempts, but then also it was the second time that UConn has got 90 or more points this season. And then a great job shutting down Anissa Morrow. We talked about that name heading into this matchup. I think she had 20, correct me if I'm wrong, 20
Yeah,
points.
20.
But I mean, still, Ryan, you're talking about 27% shooting for DePaul, a season low, and a season low for points scored. So that, man, look, and again, that's with UConn pretty hurt right now. So, I mean, really, and how often do you hear this? This is almost a double-double in an unusual kind of way. 10 assists for Nika, no points, mind you, 8 rebounds, almost a double-double. Usually you don't see. So, yeah, Nika, man, I mean, an all around, give me the props that's due, or correct me if I'm wrong if we're not mentioning any name, because for so long now we come on these game recaps. Well, you're not giving her credit, and you're not giving her credit. Man, everybody gets credit, even the UConn fans tonight for this one.
Yeah, and Nico played great. Like I said, 6 turnovers. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of her role on this team. And she's, we talked about how she's the heart and soul of this team, is a great passer and rebound. Anissa Morrow as well. I like that you mentioned that. 20 points, but she's gonna score 20 points a night pretty much every game. But yeah, UConn definitely did a good job stopping DePaul, all the other players, and limiting Morrow as much as they could tonight. No other player for DePaul got over a double-digit point. So, like I said, just a complete defensive clinic for UConn tonight. Everybody played well on the offensive and defensive side of things. I know the coaching staff for UConn is thrilled. I know we're all thrilled to see this type of game out of UConn as we're getting later and later into the season. And like you kind of mentioned, that 2 big games still, Tennessee and Villanova this week, two pretty big matchups. So let's hope that they can keep this momentum rolling.
All right, here we go. Comments. We have time for 2, and then we will head on out for the night, because we have a big, arguably the toughest stretch in the regular season schedule coming up that we need to get prepared for, Ryan. Let's go and get into comments. This was from UConn Huskies last check-in versus DePaul. This is a name we haven't seen that often. Finally came back through. We appreciate you, David Serrano. Great show again, guys. I'm curious as to why a lot of people are worried about UConn's short bench. Gino has traditionally used about 6 or 7 player rotations. The 2016 champion team had Brianna, Morgan, Mariah, Katie Lou, Gabby, and Nafisa. This iteration of the team was undefeated. Gino has used a short bench in the past by design. Now he simply has no choice, but UConn is UConn, and Gino will lead the team to the big dance. And before you break down that comment, I want to shout out to the UConn men's basketball team, who's having a great season thus far. They were actually in the house tonight, Ryan, to watch the UConn women.
Yeah, and I think for that comment, I mean, I would agree with that. And I think, I think it's always a concern when you only, you're having all these injuries during the season. And, for those past championship teams, I think all those teams are obviously very unique. And I think that's the way Gino's kind of run things for a while, is not, he always has a pretty deep bench due to everybody coming in, all these highly talented recruits. But I think Gino always has, not really played 10 to 12 players every single night, obviously. But like they kind of mentioned, he doesn't really have much choice over these past 2 seasons with all the different injuries, having to mix up all the starting lineups. But I mean, if UConn keeps playing like they've been playing, only having 7 or 8 healthy players, and they're putting up 90 points and holding their opponents about 40 or 50, if they keep playing like this, they're going to be tough to beat no matter what.
All right, this is interesting. I'm seeing a lot of good ones. They did a lot of good for us, if you will. They came through very well. Last one though, I wish I could read them all. Just Joy Do you guys believe in the current team finishing of the regular season strong? I'm excluding March Madness for now. Curious to know, since you mentioned the return of Beckers and next season, players will finally bring joy, strength back to UConn women's basketball. It's your podcast and you can discuss whatever you want. But I would love to hear why you think this current team has a chance. Oh, turnovers, lack of depth, and the lack of AZ, CD have been talked about at length. But does this team have that might take them to another Final Four championship? With the exception of South Carolina, how does UConn stack against the other top 5 teams? I would be also curious to know how long time Husky fans feel, since technically UConn women's basketball hasn't won a championship. I guess he been in 2016 since 2016. Maybe you can have, this is curious, or this is interesting rather, because I've actually wanted to talk to you about this last sentence. Maybe you can have one of your longtime listeners, UConn fans, come on and add their 2 cents. That is very interesting because, you told me, Ryan, now I'm not talking trash here. You told me, well, Phil, a lot of people has no troubles typing away with them fingers, but when it comes time to show their face,
Well, and that, I mean, that would definitely be a possibility during the all season. We'll have to talk about that some more, but that would definitely be really interested. I'd be completely
make connections. I love it to make
that.
connections.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, talking about the comment a little bit more. Yeah, I mean, obviously we know about the title drought here in UConn. And I mean, I really do think this team has a chance with them playing like this right now without AZ and Caroline. It is really, really spectacular in my opinion. I'm not really sure how they're doing it without arguably their best player and second best player at times in Caroline Ducharme. But Ohio State dropped one tonight at their first loss of the season. So South Carolina, LSU, the only 2 undefeated teams, and they're going to have to eventually play each other. UConn plays South Carolina down less than a month here, a couple weeks away. So that should be really exciting. I mean, it's always exciting when you get into March Madness and you play different teams you haven't seen before, higher ranked teams. I think UConn is going to return to the Final Four. After that, I'm not really too sure what's going to happen. We saw last year them battle through pretty much everything, and they've had to do it yet again this season. So I wouldn't be surprised if UConn does somehow make it back to the national championship game. Can they win it? Can they beat South Carolina? I'm not really sure, but with the way the team is playing right now, it's giving me a lot of confidence. And, I've gotten some of my belief back in UConn.
I mean, again, you look at it going forward, you had Tennessee, you have Villanova, all right, you had Providence, which I'm not saying Providence is a pushover, but, and then you have South Carolina. Ryan, this is very exciting. This is just as exciting. It almost feels like March Madness is starting in late January, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. And it's great to see because Tennessee, they've obviously ranked really high. They're always a good team, but they're still unranked, but still a really, really good team. So these next week or 2 is going to be really interesting to see if UConn can carry their momentum. If they can win all these games the rest of the way out and carry all that momentum, I think that they're going to have a team with a whole lot of confidence.
Why not a trip to Thompson Boiling, man. I was thinking about boiling, like cooking tomorrow night dinner or something, like cooking noodles on the stove. I guess you already know what I have for dinner tomorrow night. How about Thompson Bowling Arena, Ryan? How about a stop in the Volunteer State, Ryan? It's time to face Tennessee Lady Volunteers. Boy, would this be a big matchup. Connecticut Huskies, Tennessee Volunteers. And I believe, Ryan, it will be on ESPN. Stay tuned, guys. Do not change your subscribe button, if you will, because this is #1 source for UConn women's basketball talk with your last check-in versus Tennessee coming up this week. Ryan, a beautiful way to start off the work week, a Monday night victory. And Ryan, I will see you for that last check-in. Volunteers, here we come.